السلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد فقد قال النبي صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم إن الله قسم بينكم أخلاقكم كما قسم أرزاقكم وإن الله يؤتي المال من يحب ومن لا يحب ولا يؤتي الإيمان إلا من يحب أو كما قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. Respected elders, brothers in Islam, whether we like it or not, we certainly live in a society where there is a total obsession with money. It seems that the success of people in our community, in our nation, is dependent purely on how much money they have in the bank accounts. That you will find that people are judged according to what clothes they wear, according to which areas they live, according to how many bank accounts they actually have. Footballers, there used to be a time when you used to know the name of the footballer, you used to know his shirt number. Now our youngsters, they know how much they are earning a week. Such and such footballer is earning 150,000, so he must be a great footballer. Such and such footballer is earning 180,000, he must be an even better footballer. Everything, it seems, unfortunately, is judged by how much money we have. What does Islam say about this? What is Islam's position on money? And more importantly, what was the practice of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam with this regard? There is no getting away from the fact that we all need money. It is a medium to ensure the education of our children, that we can feed ourselves, that we can ensure that we have some basic form of luxury in our lives. So certainly it should be permissible. Yet on the other hand, we see the obsession with it. We see that people sometimes get lost into money so much that they forget the very basics of life, really. So what does Islam say about that? And more importantly, what was the practice and thinking of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam? First point to mention, just because Allah has given someone money, it doesn't necessarily mean that Allah has favored that person. That is the first important point to mention. Money doesn't always equal success. If such and such person has lots of money, that doesn't mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored him. And the best example is from the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Qarun plenty of money in the time of Fir'aun, in the time of Musa alayhi salam. But he was the worst enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was immersed into the ground because of his obsession with wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Fir'aun plenty of money. He gave him palaces, he gave him a kingdom, he gave him wealth beyond measure. That doesn't mean he was any closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was from thousands of years ago. Today, if the developed countries, if the United States of America, if they are rich, if they are affluent, that doesn't necessarily mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has shown favor and karam upon them. Look at it from the other side. Look at the early generation of Muslims, and in particular look at Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his companions around him. Certainly they were not blessed with an abundance of money. These individuals, these great individuals, were very poor. That they used to go days and days without food and water. That sometimes after 3 days there would be a handful of khujurs, a handful of dates to appear in the house of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sometimes they would have a bowl of water and they would have to share it amongst 50 people. Our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam on many occasions would tie stones to his stomach to actually prohibit that pain of hunger in him. So they had no money. Does that mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not favor them? Of course not. These were the most favored and blessed people ever to have lived. So money doesn't actually necessarily mean, it's not a measure, it's not an indicator, a litmus test to indicate who is actually being successful and who is actually not. Before we go on, it's important to mention that specifically with Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if he was poor, then this was his choice, it was not out of compulsion. He chose to live the life of a poor person. Otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offered him all of the riches in the entire world. I will read to you one report which is mentioned in Qadi Iyaz al-Shifa. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Inni urida alayya an taj'ala li batha'a makkata zahaba. That it was presented to me, our Prophet alayhi salatu wa sallam said, that the valleys of Makkah Sharif could be turned into gold for me. This was the offer made by Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What was the response from our messenger? La ya Rab. No, O Lord. And in reply, what did he continue to say? أجوء يوما وأشبع يوما. That Ya Rab, Ya Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one day I will feel hungry, one day I will eat. He didn't want that to be rich all of the time. فَأَمَّا الْيَوْمُ الَّذِي أَجُوءُ فِيهِ فَأَتَضَرَّعُ إِلَيْكَ. As for the day I am hungry, our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, then I will show humility towards you, Ya Allah. I will beg for your rahmah. وَأَمَّا الْيَوْمُ الَّذِي أَشْبَعُ فِيهِ فَأَحْمَدُكَ وَأُثْنِي عَلَيْكَ. And as for the day when I have ate, when I am full, then I will praise you and I will do your sana. So for Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if he lived the life of a poor individual, then this was his own choice. It was not out of compulsion, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offered him all of the wealth in the world. So moving on, what does Islam actually say about asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for money? The Quran says, ask Allah for rizq, don't ask for money. When you do dua, then ask for rizq, don't ask for mal. A lot of people, they think rizq is the same thing as mal. When we talk about that fulan ke paas rizq hai, then we think that it means he is rich. There is a subtle difference between rizq and mal. Rizq is important that you understand what it is. Rizq is something which benefits you. الشيء الذي ينفعك. If it benefits you, whether it is in the form of wealth, whether it is in the form of another quality, whether it is in the form of knowledge, then it is called a rizq. Wealth, we know, money, we know, sometimes can benefit you, sometimes it doesn't benefit you. It doesn't always equate as being rizq. So when you do dua, don't necessarily ask him for money, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for rizq. Ask for rizq halal, rizq tayyibah. The examples to prove that you will find that there were people who live in lovely mansions, mal. They live in homes and they live in bedrooms where they have a £3,000 bed. Yet at the same time, when they have their £3,000 bed, they get no sleep at night. Sleeping at night, having a beautiful night's sleep is rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something which benefits you. That's what rizq is. So don't necessarily pray for a £3,000 bed. Pray for rizq in the form of a good night's sleep. That will bring you benefit. Otherwise, it's pointless if you have an expensive bed and you can't get to sleep at night. People go around with flashy, expensive cars. People think that this is rizq, not necessarily. It could be that that same individual who drives a £100,000 car has disobedient children at home. His life could be hell at home. What is the point of this transport if there is hell breaking out at home? Obedient children is rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something which brings you nafa, something which brings you benefit. That is rizq. So when you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, don't ask for expensive cars, ask for rizq in the form of obedient children. Because they will bring you benefit, there will be the coolness of your eyes in this world, there will be the coolness of your eyes in the hereafter as well. There are people who have millions in their bank accounts. They have offshore accounts in Switzerland and in the Bahamas. Yet at the same time they are permanently ill. They cannot get up from their wheelchair. They have disabilities. Siha, good health, this is rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something which brings you benefit. Otherwise, what is the point of being rich? What is the point of having millions in your bank account if you cannot spend it because of your ill health? So when you pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask for rizq in the form of good health. Ask for protection against bimariya, against those kinds of illnesses which renders you useless. So you see this pattern here that rizq is much more a wide-ranging concept than mal. Mal is only a small part of that. Mal can be rizq only when it benefits you. When you spend it in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you provide your children with good education. When you ensure a comfortable life. But there are many times when that mal you have, it is not rizq because it's not benefiting you, it is harming you. If you do not pay zakah on your mal, then it is no longer rizq. It is haram for you. So you will see from this pattern that rizq is something that you should be asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing else. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the whole world has divided the rizq. In terms of natural resources, for example. You will know and you will appreciate that when it comes to natural resources, agriculture, oil, gas, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has divided in a particular way. Take Japan, for example. Japan is not rich in agriculture. It doesn't have an abundance of oil. It doesn't have cotton, for example. So when it comes to natural resources, they are very bare-threaded. Yet, Japan at the same time is one of the richest and most developed countries in the entire world. So that wealth is not there in material form, yet they are rich. On the other hand, take the example of Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, when it comes to their natural resources, they have diamonds. It is said that sometimes people find that there is such an abundance of, or there used to be at least, there used to be such an abundance of diamonds in Sierra Leone that sometimes children would find it on the beach. They would find diamonds the size of golf balls there. So automatically you think that if this is the natural resources of Sierra Leone, they must be rich. Sierra Leone is one of the most underdeveloped and poorest countries in the entire world. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's working. Some of them have rizq, some of them have mal. Rizq is something which benefits you, not necessarily paper form, not necessarily in diamond forms. The story of Muqatil perfectly epitomizes that. Muqatil himself said that he saw two individuals who gave a wasiyah, a bequeath to their children when they passed away. One was Umar bin Abdul Aziz and one was Hisham. Muqatil comments that when Umar bin Abdul Aziz, the great caliph, when he passed away, what did he leave behind his children? Absolutely nothing. When Hisham passed away, Muqatil comments that he left his children lots and lots of money, lots of dirhams, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dirham and dinars. A few years later, Muqatil comments that he saw the children of Umar bin Abdul Aziz going around with fancy horses and plenty of agriculture. They were rich beyond measure. He saw Hisham's children a few years later and they were begging on the streets for money. In simple forms, Umar bin Abdul Aziz did not leave mal for his children, he left rizq. And it continued to benefit them. In simple terms, Hisham left mal for his children, it did not benefit them at all. As much as possible, when it comes to your du'as, pray for rizq, do not pray for wealth. What is rizq? And to conclude, rizq is something which brings you benefit. If it brings benefit to you and to those around you, then take advantage of that, value it, and thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it. Some of you might have rizq in the form of tolerance. Use it. Value it. Take nafa out of it and make sure others will benefit from it as well. Some of you might have rizq in the form of knowledge. Use it. Apply it to your lives. Give it to others. Some of you might have rizq in the simplest way, that you might have a beautiful smile. This is a rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Value it. Say alhamdulillah. Use it to others and radiate their faces as well at the same time. And the biggest rizq of them all, and now we come to the hadith sharif that I read at the beginning, is your iman. This is the greatest favor and this is the greatest rizq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. What did Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say? Subhanallah, what took me 10 minutes to explain, he explained it in one simple sentence. He said, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُعْتِ الْمَالَ مَنْ يُحِبُّ وَمَنْ لَا يُحِبُّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give mal, wealth, to who he loves and who he does not love. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُعْتِ الْإِيمَانَ إِلَّا مَنْ يُحِبُّ. But when it comes to iman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only gives it to those people he loves. Money goes to everyone. But when it comes to iman, it is only to the believer that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows that. So the rizq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, take advantage of it, say alhamdulillah, and share it with others. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with rizq halal and rizq tayyib. Ameen wa ma alayna illa al-bala'ul mubin. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وسلم عليه. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما والحمد لله على كل حال. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه ونور عرشه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. آمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.